Hello YouTube, I'm back again with another video. I finally made my Crocodile Animal Kingdom Pirate Baroque work deck a lot more competitive. I feel like now these are the right card choices. I am playing at a budget because I want to make sure if there's some necessary cards that I can use without having to blow a lot of money. As you can tell, there are a lot of the cards are very similar that you may be familiar with. But I managed to fix the ratios. I am playing less events, and I feel like this deck will 100% work out for me. And I do love the curve. And um, if you want to try this build, you can look it up, or you can try to use the One Piece deck builder for so you can decide for your choice, like what are your deck options. So moving forward, obviously we're playing the Crocodile Purple Leader, which I choose to keep in case there's anything relevant that might catch my eye that I could replace with, but for now it seems to be doing well for me. So now instead of two, we're maxing out on Miss All Sunday. The reason being because she actually does play an important role, even though we're not playing too many events. But just being able to fetch one of your events from your graveyard is always good, as well as her being a blocker. Um, There's no exception playing less than 4, but she is pretty mandatory. You're never gonna really use her for her counter because we usually when you have a character and then they block, the best thing is to have them out on the field rather than your hand. So our 2K counter, we're instead of uh, 3, we're playing 4. Mr. 13, it was all Friday. I realized there's like some of my favorite cards I cannot fit in this deck because either they're not that viable or they don't make my deck any better. So it's like you gotta max out certain cards for the deck to reach its full potential in order to be playable, as well as be able to handle the meta as well as other decks out there that can be a problem. So usually you're never gonna summon this character. It's just for the 2K counter, but if you do summon it, it's usually by trigger, and what you do is on trigger after it's been triggered, you trash this card as well as one Baroque character from your hand, and when you do, you get to play an active Dawn from your Dawn deck. Obviously, we're maxing out on Who's Who. Not much to explain. Obviously, Miss 4 Valentine because they easily fetch your Baroque Work Animal Kingdom cards, which is why it's an Animal Kingdom Baroque Work deck. And we're playing the Purple Sasaki, also very important, mainly because even though your Dawn is rested, a lot of times when it attacks, you can use one of your Dawn on. You can attach a Dawn to this card, discard one, trash one card from your hand. You get to place one Dawn rested, so immediately that gives you the opportunity to hit your leader with this card. But again, most of the time I'm just gonna use it because it's a 2K counter, and 2K counters play an important role. And now because I made sure to when building this, I carefully made sure which ratios to play and to do it correctly because we're playing at least 12 2K counters as well as 12 blockers. So putting him into the deck serves a purpose now because we need to see our as much Dawn as possible. So we're also playing, obviously, as you're aware, of the blue Sasaki. Just helps you like shuffle mulligan your hand even more, but most likely you just want to use it as a 2K counter. But there's no reason to play lessons because in case you have a bricky hand, you always want to be able to fix it. Our other blocker is Black Mirror, so we place the blue one because I feel like even though I do love to draw cards with the blue one, but the problem is like it would be for you have no choice but to tap it after resting 2 Dawn as well as resting her. So it gave your opponent reason to just eliminate her easily. Had it kept her untapped as well as you rest 2 Dawn, I think the card wouldn't have been an issue. But of course, having more blockers is way better because on top of that, she has more power. So power these days is very important because you need some way to have a character that has at least 5K or more just to easily hit the leader without having to waste one of your Dawn to power them up. So her effect is similar to Mr. 4 that I mentioned, but what happens while she's active, you can minus 1 Dawn, rest this card, and the opponent is forced to switch their attack on this card. And as you can tell, I'm also playing some nice text, because also this is a 2K counter. The reason why I like her, even though she's a 2K counter, you could play more of her, but It's mainly because our on play effect, you -1 Dawn to play one page one from your hand. That's why we're playing 4 of them. But she's always going to be useful for that effect. But I feel like one is only necessary because you want to have more space for other options. Also, we're playing 1 extra, you -1, you trash 1 card from your opponent's hand, but they get to choose. We're playing 4 page 1, even though he has no counter, which is the downside, but usually what's going to happen, you always want to summon, you're never really going to counter with this card. But the whole purpose is if you activate Dawn, you attach a Dawn to him, you draw 1 card and you put 1 card at the bottom of your deck, so he helps you fix your hand as well. As you can tell, for Mr. Babe, also your 12th blocker at this point does the same thing as Black Mirror, not much, but it just has more power as well as more Dawn to summon. But I want to mention the last two 12k, the last two 12k counters that, the last two 2k counters that helps us max it out to 12. I forgot to mention ulti and extra, so that's the reason why I'm playing these two. But same, not really much to explain. Mr. 4, he does the same thing as Black Mirror, just but has more power and Dawn. Crocodile, obviously he's important. You have to play 3. Someone mentioned to me you have to play 3, even though his Dawn cost is high. But being able to get an extra life is really important. The draw effect, you're not going to really use it too much because you're minusing even more Dawn because you got to trash 1 card as well as draw 1 card. But it's the fact that it ensures that he helps your deck have more recovery so that you can be able to not only activate more triggers but also include more life. 3 Kaido, normally I would drop this too, but thinking about it, I think just being able to see him is really good, but that's why you don't want to play at least 4, you want to max out, because you have to use up all your Dawn. But the reason why I like summoning Sky, not only because he can remove characters from the field to the hand, like multiple characters, but there's no way, I wouldn't say there's no way of counter, but they have to use up a bunch of counters in order to prevent Kaido's attack. You have to use up a lot of events, as well as I wouldn't say a lot of events. You got to use up a lot of characters just to halt his attack, essentially. But the best way to do it is by using blockers. So you gotta have strong blockers too. So seeing him isn't regret seeing. So seeing him isn't regret watching. So, but see a card that, speaking of card, we're playing Thunder Bagua, just again allowing you to add more Dawn if you have 2 life or less. But just again bringing back Kaido, because you're the whole point of having him so that you force your opponent to waste more of their counters, as well as having to use up their events. Just because the only way you can cover from this guy is by blockers, so that's why he's essentially useful, because that's his only weakness, is most likely blockers, or something or an event that actually removes them, or a character that can do that as well. But speaking of Thunder Bagua, not only does it give you an active Dawn, but it powers up your character or leader by 4,000. And we're going to go into our removal event cards, obviously, which are 3,000 Worlds, which happens to be the weaker version of Red Rock. And I forgot to mention the trigger of Thunder Bagua. If it's a trigger, you can use this trigger effect to add 1 active Dawn from your Dawn deck to your field. But 3,000 Worlds, you place up to 1 character with a cost of 4 or less into the bottom of the owner's deck. And if this card gets triggered, you could place a character who costs 3 or less into the bottom of the deck only if it's triggered. And what makes these cards great about that's why we're playing for Miss Alzante, because not only get to use their trigger effects, you get to actually add them back. So best card, obviously, Red Rock as our event, and there's no reason to actually add any more events afterwards. But by paying 6, even though it costs more than 3,000 words, allowing you to place any character onto the bottom of the player's bottom deck. And if it were to get triggered, you could place a character who costs 4 or less into the bottom deck. I could be wrong. I can't really read from here, but eventually I'll have to. You guys should eventually. You'll be able to find it, but I could be right or could be wrong. But I already know the main effect, but the trigger effect. Again, you just put the character at the bottom of you put a character at the bottom of the owner's deck, depending on the cost. So I assume it's 4. But I just hope I'm right, because I don't want to seem ignorant. But But I'm sure you guys can kind of catch the idea with this deck list. People are mentioning, oh, maybe why aren't you playing Queen? But considering its price tag, I don't. It just feels like a waste. And it's always good to play budget, like, and that's what makes One Piece a lot more fun to play because you don't have to spend a lot of money to actually interact with people in order to be on the competitive side. But you just build a deck that's fun. You just got to play correct ratios, have enough blockers, have enough 2K counters, have enough powerful characters with high enough power to overcome the leader, and you should be good. But I feel like I said enough. You guys, again, hope you guys enjoy the video. Be sure to check for more upcoming content later in the future. Be sure to check your notifications, comment, like, subscribe. Thank you.